course, we begin with Champions League football chat on the back of Gladbach losing 2-0 against Man City. You and I were both watching the game together.
Yeah.
You're getting very excited about Man City.
Well, no, I just...
excited.
No, you know, it's the 19th game they won on the spin, and the scoreline in the end, really, the only disappointing aspect from their point of view that they didn't get more. You know, one in each half really didn't reflect the way the game went. It was men v boys, and it was... I said to Hugh at half-time,
You said to me?
I felt it was cruel, just kind of watching the difference in class. And I think that if you had to pick holes in the performance, the hole you would pick is saying that they weren't ruthless enough. They didn't really, that dominance, they didn't. And you know what, towards the end there, they had a great chance and they could have made it 2-1, and that would not have been a reflection of what I saw for that 90 minutes. Yet the balance of the game could have just changed. It's not going to matter a jot what happens when City go through, of course, when the home leg. But I think that's the one thing you look at. Could they have been more ruthless? And the simple answer is yes. Should they put that game to bed earlier, 2-3-0 up, and then the pressure's completely off? But you know, it's a win. They're going to go through. They're totally dominant. They are a brilliant side. And I was thinking just earlier we were talking about what weakness they have, and I feel almost ridiculous saying this, but if there is a weakness, you have to say it's up top. But
they're coping without playing.
Saying it.
Yeah.
But they don't have a centre forward, and there was a game.
When they do, he's on the bench.
Yeah. There was a game. I think it was Brighton's second half. I think they won the game 1-0 City, and there was periods in that game second half where Brighton were just excellent. I mean, you say it often about Brighton; they never got anything out of the game, which they so often don't. Can this side win all 4 competitions? Well, the simple answer to that is yes, they can.
Well, that'd be horrible, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be.
No one other than Man City fans wants to see that. No one other than City fans, understandably, by the way, wants City to win all 4, or even no one really wants City to win the Champions League.
No.
I think I'm not going to get an Arsenal fan or Rochdale fan or Portsmouth fan.
No, of course not.
It's only as it would be for Manchester United or for Chelsea. No one really wants Man City to win it apart from City, do they?
Well, the Pep is one of the main reasons he's been brought in. Obviously, to win the Premier League and win as much as he can. You know, he's proven he's won the domestic treble. But this competition has eluded him personally for quite a long time. And it's City have never won it, of course. If they don't win it this year, a year when you're looking around the rest of Europe, and I saw my mob beat what I thought was a pretty poor Athletic side, Athletic Madrid, and they're top of La Liga. It's not the same Barca. It's not the same Real Madrid. Looking around Europe, who else can do it?
Munich are the boys.
Munich and PSG are the only 2 I look at and think that City would probably feel in a one-off game, or maybe over 2 legs, that they don't quite, it's a bit of a 50-50 game. But even looking at them, I mean, how can RB Leipzig be 2 points behind Bayern? I don't understand that, because I saw your mob destroy them 5-0. I saw Liverpool beat them 2-0, and they were poor. I mean, and they must be looking around City now, thinking, who genuinely is our contenders here? Who are they? Bayern, obviously, because they won it last year. I haven't seen enough of Bayern.
So are you saying it's their best chance, Man City, to win it? If they don't win it
this year, you almost feel that they have a history of screwing it up, don't they? They do have a history in this competition.
Yeah.
Pep last year, if you remember what happened against Lyon, he mucked around with a few things, went into it perhaps. I don't know.
Formation he got wrong, yeah.
There's a few things that you look back and think, has he learned from that? I mean, I remember when he was at Bayern, he got beaten by Real Madrid in the semi-final. And he himself has got a few demons he wants to exercise, because even though he's won it with Barca,
I think 10 years, 2011 was the last time.
It's been a long time for him, for a manager who is perceived to be and widely accepted as the best manager in the world, if not in the top 2 or 3. Most people have.
So you're saying if they don't win it this season?
I just feel, if they can't win it this year, well, they should. Okay, here's what I'm saying. They should win it this year.
Right, and if they don't?
Well, they're bottle jobs, aren't they? If they can't go on and win, there is something about this competition where City don't get it right for whatever reason. And the year they got to the semi-final against Real Madrid, they were appalling. There's something that they froze. Yaya Toure, he in that day, I thought it'd be his last game for Man City, because he was dreadful. City were dreadful over the 2 legs, from what I can remember.
Yeah,
and they didn't deserve to go through. I look at this team now, and they don't really have a weakness, do they? They don't.
No, they don't.
And the areas they've looked at in the past
tonight was ridiculous.
The areas you looked at in the past defensively was an area, and I think widely accepted by City fans, is actually we can we can actually be got at through the middle, and there's examples of it last year. Laporte went injured. Maybe the left-back area, but when Cancelo plays there, you think you've got yourself a brilliant left-back. I quite like Zinchenko. I think he does okay. The right-back area, you've got Walker and Cancelo there as well. Through the middle, Diaz and Stones. I mean, you haven't got even Kevin De Bruyne in there yet. Gundogan has been a revelation. You've got Mahrez, you've got Foden, who's now starting to really look like the mercurial talent.
But here, okay, let me ask you this question. So you've said if Man City don't win the Champions League this season, they're bottle jobs, right? Okay. Let me ask you this question. Well, I know this. I'm going to put it to you. Okay. I would say there's a majority of City fans that would rather win the Premier League again than the Champions League. I find that unbelievable.
Well, you know my thoughts on that. I always see the biggest.
I know, but if your
league.
club had never won the Champions League and you had recently won the Premier League,
well, they've won the league this year, haven't they?
Yeah, but there are City fans that would take winning the Premier League than the Champions League. A club that's never won it. Pep was brought in to win it. They've spent all that money, and there are still fans that would rather turn their nose up at the competition and take home. Well,
they've had a bit of history, haven't they? They've fallen out with UEFA a couple of times.
Can you understand that? I can't understand any City fan that phones up and says that to me.
If they win it, they'll be on here gloating. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, but I think for Man City now, it's a bigger competition for them to win.
Well,
to be kings of Europe.
Some will see it as that way.
All of them should see it that way, shouldn't they?
Look, I always feel the Premier League is the number one in this order. Number one Premier League,
right? Champions
League number two,
right?
You know, I mean they're pretty. You know,
but if you had 5 Premier League winners' medals, you personally, would you rather have a 6 or your first Champions League one?
You'd like a little bit of a set, wouldn't you? I suppose.
What do you mean?
Well, you wouldn't mind collecting as many different kind of medals, but.
What would you rather take? A 6 Premier League or a first Champions League?
Maybe a Champions League.
Well, there you go. That's my point. But Man City fans would rather take another Premier League title, and I can't work that out.
They clearly have that was what Abramovich's prize was. He wanted that. He had his eyes on that. That was what we kept knocking on the door, it's a tough competition to win. It really is. City have shown that, throwing the millions they have, and Pep has shown actually, even with the best team in Germany and the best team in England, how difficult it is. City haven't got to a final yet.
No.
I look across Europe and I'm not convinced that the sides that I'm looking at, in particular in this competition, I don't see domestic football. I don't watch La Liga every single week. I see highlights. I don't watch Bundesliga. I see highlights. I'm just looking around thinking, who else can stop them? PSG? I mean, they are the perennial bottlers, aren't they? If you look at how close they've come on a number of occasions, the teams they've got knocked in. But looking back at that game, they got beat 3-1 last season, Man City. And that was a knockout game, and no one saw that coming. Absolutely no one.